Okay, we're going to get started. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. It is always great to see you all. Always great. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Ruth Cox. I'm president of the Democratic Club of Lincoln. I want to give a big thanks to Al and Carol Witten for providing us with our pre-meeting refreshments. Thank you. The program committee for putting tonight's agenda together, and the social committee for staffing our sign-in table and handling all the logistics of our monthly meetings. And I want to give a special thanks to Sue Mott and Alan Gulko for staffing the very busy Yes on 50-yard sign stand. Yeah, baby. Got to get those yard signs out. Sue and the team are doing a tremendous job of getting them distributed. And if you haven't gotten a sign yet, please pick one up or order one. If you know others who are interested, please send them our way. Visibility for Yes on Prop 50 is really important. We need the community to know that we are not going to stand by and let Republicans steal the 2026 election before we even vote. How many of you are new members or first-time attendees of our monthly meeting? Look at that. Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for joining us. Our ranks are growing. We are over 550 members now. Yep, and we hope that you're going to enjoy our program tonight and being part of our club. I want to welcome tonight's keynote speaker. I'm not sure if he's on yet, but his name is Dan Vicuna. He's from Common Cause. He's going to be speaking later. And Heidi Hall is in the house tonight. Heidi, where are you? There she is in the back. Heidi is challenging Kevin Kiley for CD3's congressional seat. So welcome, Heidi. And Nick Bennett, chair of the Placer County Democratic Party, is also with us. Welcome, Nick.
Yes.
Lincoln Democrats have been busy. How many of you were able to join us for our ice cream social in August? Yeah, it was a really fun evening. And I want to thank June and the social team for organizing it, Holly Stryker for sponsoring the event, and for all of you who made donations. We put them to good use on our postcard campaign for Yes on Prop 50. I believe we put out 1,500 postcards, which will go to Democrats, reminding them to vote on November 4th. So that was important. We're also kicked off our Adopt a Street program on F Street in downtown Lincoln at the end of August, and I want to thank Donna Hawksworth for organizing this effort. Donna, where are you? She in here? There she is. Thank you. It also was a lot of fun, although not very trashy, I have to say. Mostly I picked up cigarette butts, and I didn't even know people still smoked. I don't know what to say. We have a few events coming up that I wanted to bring to your attention. This Saturday, the Lincoln Democratic Club will host a fundraiser for Feed the Foothills. June and the social team have done an unbelievable job engaging local businesses to make donations that we will quote unquote auction, and that will generate much needed financial support. With social services budgets being slashed by Republicans in Washington, the most vulnerable amongst us will suffer if we're not able to make up the shortfall. So thanks to all of you that have been putting this event together and those of you who will be attending. We're going to have a tour of the facility, eat a delightful lunch, and compete with each other for prizes, including a special package of several nights at the Wyndham Hotel in San Francisco. So that's a really, really special prize. Look for Democrats at the Sun City Lincoln Hills Lifestyle Fair on September 30th, at Feed the Foothills on October 15th for our quarterly volunteer day, and on November 6th on F Street with our Adopt a Street program. So we'll be around. And I also want to announce that for No King's Day on October 18th, we're going to rally in Lincoln this time. Yep. We've been supporting our neighbors in Roseville and Auburn, but Lincoln needs to see us on the street standing up to authoritarianism. We will have a sign-making party in advance, and I'm asking each and every one of you to come out, bring your neighbors, your friends, and your family, and show your support. We need to make a statement. That means hundreds of Lincoln Democrats rallying for No Kings. So come on out. Lincoln Democrats are proud of our community engagement efforts, and we thank all of you who are contributing your time, creativity, and money to make a difference in the lives of fellow Lincolnites. Our community engagement efforts, however, don't stop there. Our supporters and precincts across Lincoln have been hosting coffee and conversation events. How many of you have participated in one of these events? There you go. We've had 5 since May, with another 5 scheduled through mid-October. And we're also going to host a special Terrenos Comunes, or Common Grounds event for Latino voters in Lincoln in the mid-October timeframe. These gatherings have been fantastic on so many levels. Just being with like-minded people and being able to discuss political issues without fear of scorn or retribution has been comforting, almost therapeutic. Seriously, getting to know neighbors who share our values, offering different perspectives and ideas on how we can protect our communities, and learning about ways in which we can engage, especially as we approach the special election for Prop 50, have really boosted our spirits and our ranks of volunteers. We've even identified several terrific potential candidates for school board and city council, which is really very cool. So a special thanks to all of you that have hosted these events, have canvassed to build attendance, or have attended. We're going to keep doing this until we've met with voters in all 50-plus precincts in Lincoln. But as busy as we've been, it's about to get busier. California Democrats have officially launched the Yes on Prop 50 campaign in response to Republican election rigging efforts in Texas and other red states. How many of you have canvassed in the last 4 or 5 months, either for our coffee and conversation events or for the upcoming special election? All right. How many of you have phone banked? Couple? Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for your service to your country, because what's happening right now with Trump and his Republican colleagues is simply un-American. I can't stress strongly enough how critical it is that we have person-to-person contact with fellow Democrats to ensure our voters understand what is at stake in this special election and to submit their votes for yes on Prop 50 on their ballots on November 4th. You can sign up to canvass, phone bank, write postcards, and attend rallies. Just look for the links in the club's newsletter or on our website. But we really, I can't stress it enough. A handful of people canvassing is not going to deliver this election. We need more people to get out and talk to people. And we're doing everything we can to provide you with the materials that you need so that you can be informed. And we have a special program here in Sun City, Lincoln Hills. The indefatigable Holly Stryker is organizing easy canvasses for you right in your neighborhoods. So Holly, please come up and fill us in on what you're doing.
Good job. Hi, I'm Holly Stryker, and I am a proud California Democrat. All right, so we are going to canvass inside Sun City, Lincoln Hills. There's nothing more important than this. We have Democratic neighbors, and they're there. They're hiding in their homes everywhere, and we're about to find them. So we want you all to, if you're interested in canvassing, it's a very simple thing. You're going to canvass in your own village. We'll supply you with a list of people. You'll go door to door. You'll hand out a flyer. You'll have a conversation with them. Find out if they're going to vote yes on 50. Do they have any questions about that? All those details will be covered in a little luncheon that I'll have at my house. So all you have to do is sign up on the green clipboard. And I'll be out front after the meeting. Let me know. Thank you.
Thanks, Holly. Holly's amazing. I mean, if you don't know, she's our newsletter lady, and she's just done a tremendous job. So the bulk of our program tonight is going to focus on Proposition 50, how it came about, why it's so critical that we vote yes on Prop 50, how you can participate, and what resources you'll have to call upon. As such, I don't want to take up too much time on the subject. However, I do want to leave you with a couple of thoughts. California has more than 39 million people, 54 electoral college votes, and 2 senators. There are 16 Republican states that together don't surpass the population of California, yet they have 82 electoral votes and 32 senators. All right? Republican politicians in these states do not share our values, such as protecting democracy, our Constitution, and the rule of law, or equal rights, especially the right to vote and have your vote counted. Californians, by a vast majority, do share these values, and our values are already being underrepresented in the Senate and the Electoral College. The last bastion of real representative democracy in this country is the House of Representatives. With his demand that Texas redraw their congressional districts to give Republicans 5 more seats in the House, Trump is undermining this principle. He's attempting to pack Congress with rubber stamps for his agenda, just like he has packed the courts. And let's be clear, Republicans in Congress have not said no to Trump on anything. They have abdicated their authority to Trump on tariffs and the budget. They have supported Trump's military invasion of our cities and his attempts to deny due process to undocumented and documented workers in this country. Not to mention what they did with the tax breaks for the billionaires and corporations while they were taking money away from Medicaid and basically undermining our entire healthcare system. Republican politicians are actively engaged in voter suppression efforts in red states across the country. They have been silent on Trump's reckless handling of our economy and our alliances and the dismantling of our government. Republican senators voted for the most unqualified cabinet in the history of our country and for judges that are reinterpreting the Constitution to pave the way for Trump's authoritarian takeover of the United States of America. For God's sake, they approved an HHS secretary with a worm-eaten brain to oversee our healthcare system, and a Secretary of Homeland Security who murders her own dog and bragged about it. And Republicans at every level of government are silent about suppression of free speech and an independent media and the mainstreaming of political violence that has been stoked by Trump's lies, vicious rhetoric, and mafia-style intimidation tactics. So I want you to ask yourself, does Trump's MAGA agenda work for you? For your family? For your community? Are you okay with denying people equal rights, due process, defunding scientific and medical research, denying people access to vaccines for diseases we had long since eradicated? Do you want a Congress that will rubber stamp this agenda? Because that is what you're going to get if we don't pass Prop 50 and level the playing field in the 2026 congressional race. Remember, the Republican insurrectionists came very close to preventing the peaceful transfer of power in 2020. Democratic control of Congress is the only thing that stood between the inauguration of a duly elected president and an insurrectionist. If Republicans retain control of Congress in 2026, they could be the ones who decide the presidency in 2028. Are you okay with that? No. With Trump's move in Texas, we don't have the luxury of taking the high ground and standing on principle. Republicans have no principles. Our own congressman voted against nonpartisan redistricting when he was in the California legislature, but he's got religion on it now because his seat is at risk. Well, I have news for Mr. Kiley. His seat was already at risk, and for good reason. If you don't remember anything else I've said tonight, I want you to remember this. Yes on 50 is no on Trump. Yeah. And no on Trump is no on Kiley. So, which is a perfect segue to our next speaker. Heidi Hall is a 2-term supervisor on the Nevada County Board of Supervisors and the current chairperson of the board. She grew up here. She raised her family here. She has shown herself to be a person that can be trusted to represent the interests of our community. She's running to unseat Kiley and restore dignity to the position of CD3's congressional representative. Please welcome Heidi Hall.
Thank you, Ruth, for your always enlightening comments. And thank you, Lincoln Democrats, for having me here. Great to be here tonight. Yeah, I am Heidi Hall, and I'm very excited to be running for Congress right here in Congressional District 3 to kick Kiley out and put us back on track in this country. So I am running because what's going on in Washington is toxic, right? And we're seeing that people are suffering right here on the ground right now. We have right-wing billionaires and extremists and greedy corporations taking advantage of that toxicity and putting their bottom lines first over all of us, right? I want to bring my problem-solving skills and my determination, and I'm going to stand up to those extreme partisans, and I want to put people first again and work together across the aisle to get things done with reasonable people. Kevin Kiley is part of the problem. He has stood next to these billionaires, these extremists. He's enabled Trump every step of the way. He's left us behind, and we deserve so much better. So I know I don't need to tell you a lot about how bad he is, but let's just refresh ourselves a little, right? How many of you have seen him come out here and give a town hall lately? Anybody? Anybody? No. He has not, since he's been reelected, he has not come out to do a single town hall where he is open to questions from every one of his constituents. We're going on a year now. You're his bosses. He's too scared to come out and face you. It's shameful. This man has voted for the big ugly bill, which is voting to hurt his own people, his own community, cutting Medicaid. It's going to cut into Medicare, right? Cutting SNAP, hurting veterans. And if you've seen him out talking lately, have you? What's he talking about? Anybody seen him on TV lately? Redistricting. We just heard he didn't really want an independent commission, right? And now he's all over the news trying to stop this from happening, pretending nothing happened in Texas, and talking about this being what we need here in this country. Let me tell you something. I have not seen him on TV once fighting for veterans. I have not seen him on TV once fighting to push back on the parts of this bill that are going to hurt us so badly. Not once. This man is spineless, and the definition of hypocrisy. He has got to go. So what do I bring to this race? Why am I here, and how am I going to do this? I got into this race back in April, before redistricting was talking about, when this seat was already hard, because I could already see the damage that was being done by this administration. And I have a lot to bring to this fight. As Ruth mentioned, I've been on the Nevada County Board of Supervisors. I'm actually in my third term. That's all right. Just that much more work I got done. And I'm on a mixed board, a bipartisan board. So we have worked across the aisle. For the last 8 years, I've worked across the aisle with my colleagues to put real projects on the ground that matter to us, to you, that get things done, that make our lives better. We put aside our partisan differences, and we've worked together. And I've stuck to my values at the same time. I do not compromise when it comes to protecting the vulnerable and making sure we stand up for our LGBT community as well as our veterans. So this can be done. I've also been in leadership positions at the state and the federal level. I've fought for all of our counties and all of us to try to reduce the skyrocketing fire insurance prices and to keep FEMA alive so we have emergency response money available when a disaster hits, right? This is what we need in Congress. We are missing people who understand how things work on the local level. As Ruth said, I'm also local. I lived in Nevada County for over 20 years. I've raised my boys there, and I love this community. I love the landscape. I love the community. I know the issues. I care about this district. You won't see me out there district hopping after redistricting happens. This is my district. This is where I want to be. Kiley is the one who has to get out, and I can do it. Okay? So we did a poll back in July just to double check our data and have something to take to Washington when we went to visit the House delegation there. And the poll showed that coming out of the gate, Kiley and I are in a statistical dead heat right now. Right? And this is before we've even started. This is in the current district, which has a +2 Republican advantage. We can beat him right now. So we're proving that we can do that. I went to Washington, D.C. I now have the endorsement of Congressman Jared Huffman, of a handful of state elected leaders, and what I'm most proud of, 25 local elected leaders up and down the state, city council people, county supervisors, who've worked with me and know that I get stuff done. Okay? So this is a serious race, and we have to do more than stop Kiley and stop Trump. We have to get back in there and put things back in gear, right? So let me just talk for a short minute about what I would focus on, and I'd love to hear you say, yeah, this you agree, or no, if you disagree with what I'm hearing your priorities are. Number one, I'm going to fight to make this economy work for working people, okay? We're going to repeal those god-awful billionaire tax cuts. We're going to dismantle those stupid tariffs that are killing our small businesses. We're going to look at instituting a middle-class tax cut. And we're going to have to take big moves to solve this affordable housing crisis that is killing all of us right now. All right? I'm going to fight for health care, okay? We need to be expanding Medicaid, not restricting it. And for God's sake, can we protect our reproductive health rights for one and all? We also need to do a lot to protect our rural hospitals that are already almost failing and our elder care facilities who are going to be hit just as hard, okay? So this is a big public lands district, and we all love public lands. And one of my priorities is going to be fight to keep our public lands public and not allow them to be sold off to the next MAGA grifter that wants to make money off of them. And above all, last and not least, overall, I will fight to protect our democracy, which is at risk right now. Due process, like Ruth mentioned, due process, integrity of our elections, equal access for everybody. And can we please treat our immigrants with dignity and respect the way they deserve? All right, this is a very serious time, and I'm in a serious race. This is one of the top 3 flippable seats in California, and it's one of our best opportunities to take back the House in 2026. We have to flip this seat. Now let me talk about redistricting for one moment. You're going to hear a lot more about the details of it, but I'll tell you what it means for this district. Redistricting, in the redistricted CD3, I will stay right in the middle. I will remain the best fit for this district. I will continue to fight then, just like I am now. And this district will move from a +2 Republican advantage to a +6 Democrat advantage. Yeah. It will make my path to victory clearer. It will still be tough. There's $1 million and more in Kiley's pot, and the GOP are going to throw everything out there to protect him. So it's still going to be a struggle, but we are going to do it. And I am going to stay steady and moving forward. And it's important for all of you to know that while you're fighting to pass Prop 50, which we must pass, us candidates need to keep moving and keep our campaigns going strong, because the minute that thing passes, we have to be roaring ahead, right, to get those seats. And if it doesn't pass, God forbid, seats like mine become even more important because we still have to flip them. So I am asking you to help. I want to send you to my website, HeidiHall.com. Take a look, figure out what you can do. You sign up to volunteer, do house parties, whatever, and we'll call you later when it's time. But I want to get there, and I'm going to need your help to do that. So let's do this together. I'm going to wrap this up, but I first want to know something. I want to know if you're ready to flip this seat. Yes? Are you ready to kick Kiley out? And are you ready to take back the House in 2026 and save our democracy? All right, let's do it. Thank you. Thank you.
We have time for one or two questions for Heidi. Do you have anybody would like to ask a question? You would? Okay. Well, here, just take one.
Heidi, I heard you once before, and I thought I heard you worked for some environmental, was it EPA? So what about climate change? You know, as you know, we've got a president who's eviscerating everything that Biden did, and we're facing a major crisis with our climate. What about that? Is that one of your priorities you'll work on?
Will I work on climate change? Absolutely, I will work on climate change. I spent 20 years at the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency making sure that hazardous waste did not go into our waterways, and then 10 years at the Department of Water Resources making sure we protect our water. So the environment is incredibly important to me, and it affects all of us. The air we breathe, right? Everything is affected. Climate change, what we were doing on climate change, we were just beginning to make some traction, right? And we're seeing right now all the funds that have been clawed back by this criminal administration are stopping our forward progress. So right now, we got to lean into what California is doing. They're going to continue to move forward and try to keep the train moving, the electric train, while we try to stop what Trump is doing. But this is why we have to flip the seats and take the House back, because we will not move forward on dealing with climate change until we get him out of office or we are able to stop him at the House level. Thank you so much for having me. Let's do this. Thank you.
Yep. And you all know that what candidates need more than anything is money. So when you get to that website, look for the donation button. All right, I'm going to turn the program over to Ken. I will wrap up at the end, and I hope you guys enjoy what we have in store for you. Thanks.
Ken, I don't think your mic's turned on. Turn your mic on, please. It's the button on the side.
Well, many people have told me I don't need a microphone, but anyway, Pete and Patty Beckett, who are doing the Zoom with our guest, Dan Vicuna. So just a couple of housekeeping notes. In October 16th, our next meeting, we have Jen Leslie from Indivisible Roseville. And that should be a good program. Just keeping us charged up. For tonight, so I want to address something that came up last month when we had another candidate for the Kiley seat, and there was some consternation because they, as Heidi did tonight, only had a few minutes. It is our intent, because the election, the 26th election, is still, 14 months away, to do an introduction for 5-10 minutes, like Tyler did and like Heidi did, and then have them back into 26 when many of us are more starting to think more about the election, if that makes sense. So bear with, because we've got a couple more candidates who are going to do short intros in October, but we'll have everybody back into 26. Is that fair? Yeah. So it is essential tonight that we're going to do questions with Dan, who is in Los Angeles, but we can't have you shouting out a question until you get a mic in your hand. Jay will work this side, I'll do this side. Put your hand up, but wait. And we are recording this, so we need your cooperation on that. So I think, without further ado, Dan Vicuna, are we bringing him in on? Well,
I'm here.
okay. All right.
Okay. Man. Go and kick it off.
So Dan is Senior Policy Director for Voting and Fair Representation with Common Cause. Just so pleased to have him. He's in LA. He's agreed to speak via Zoom. Looks like it's going smoothly so far. So he's a native Californian, UCLA undergraduate, law degree from American University, and for over a decade, he's been a leader in the organization's fight for fair maps that strengthen the voice of all Americans. So please welcome Dan Vicuna.
Thanks so much, Ken. I feel like after a political stem winder, following that up with a discussion of neutrality is going to be maybe not quite as sexy, but I'm going to do my best. If you'll bear with me here while I set up a PowerPoint here with sort of describing Common Cause's position on Prop 50, specifically and more broadly how we're looking at this fight around mid-decade redistricting. Sorry, here, let me get this going. So as Ken mentioned, I've been with Common Cause since 2014, although I now run our voting and fair representation, or sort of broadly, which is our broad voting rights project. I did spend most of my time with the organization, either on or running our old redistricting and representation team, thinking a lot about the problem of gerrymandering and the ways in which it manipulates our democracy and undermines accountability for elected officials. So I just want to talk about sort of some fairness criteria we came up with, the way we're approaching this new mid-decade cycle. Just open up with a little bit of our history. So Common Cause has worked on nationally on redistricting reform, pushing back on gerrymanders in blue and red states for most of our 50 plus years of existence. More recently, here in California. California Common Cause was instrumental in the fights in support of Prop 11. I got the year wrong there, 2008. And Prop 20, 2010, creating California's Independent Redistricting Commission, authoring it, campaigning for it, getting it passed, and it's become the gold standard for reform across the country. We've been fighting gerrymandering in the courts, including going all the way up to the Supreme Court. We had a win a couple of years ago in a case called Moore v. Harper, which defended the ability of state courts to provide oversight to protect the public from unfair maps. Rucha v. Common Cause. We tried to get the U.S. Supreme Court to say that partisan gerrymander had violated the U.S. Constitution. Unfortunately, it didn't go our way in a 5-4 split decision, but we've been fighting for it, before then and ever since. Successfully advocating for reforms, getting bans on partisan gerrymandering in Florida, getting independent commissions in Colorado, Michigan, in a bunch of localities, local governments, counties, and cities around the country, with particular success in California. And we are currently challenging a racial gerrymander in North Carolina. Went to court on it a few months ago and are waiting for a decision from federal court. So that's kind of the background. And of course, redistricting, we're talking about it now because of a new renewed push starting from the White House to redraw districts, to manipulate them for political advantage, using racial discrimination as the weapon of choice to gain new Republican seats. You know, this whole mid-decade process was kicked off when the Trump Department of Justice sent a letter to Texas demanding that the legislature dismantle districts that were drawn to provide opportunities for communities of color in the state to elect their candidates of choice, specifically asking for those districts to be dismantled. This is a state that has had, for decade after decade, congressional maps struck down as racially discriminatory. Their current map, also by civil rights experts, still being litigated, believed to be racially discriminatory. This is a map that the Trump administration said was somehow too good to communities of color. So this is what started it. Texas Republicans then passed a map. It provided exactly the kind of harm for communities of color that we believed would be the case, and also added 5 Republican seats to the congressional or 5 likely Republican seats to the congressional delegation. Here's the part that you probably know best. Governor Newsom and the California legislature believed that they needed to respond in kind. The governor called for the sort of temporary suspension of the map drawn by the independent commission here in the state, to draw up a new map that would add 5 new Democratic seats, and reduce the Republican number, obviously. And because it's a change to the California Constitution, there will be a special election on this, Prop 50, on November 4th of this year. So this created a challenge for us organizationally, Common Cause, because of the long history that I just mentioned. We believe strongly that partisan gerrymandering is wrong. We've opposed it when Democrats have done it and Republicans have done it. But, this is a unique moment in the history of the country. If we had to wrestle with the question of whether automatic opposition to democratic states like California really met the moment when this was really started as a result of an authoritarian push by the president to avoid accountability for a midterm election he thinks is not going to go well. And we were concerned that, equal support, basically opposing automatically the responses was a call for unilateral disarmament against Trump's authoritarianism. And it didn't seem like I said, really met the moment that we're in. So, however, because of our history on redistricting and opposing partisan gerrymandering, we are also not going to rubber stamp, a democratic response that's for partisan purposes. So we needed to develop some sort of set of principles to assess, and if a map and a process, in a state met those criteria, we would stay neutral. We would, in a situation where we might normally oppose because it's partisan gerrymandering, we will stay neutral, not oppose, use our resources in other places, on the many voting rights challenges around the country that we're facing, in particular under this president and as a result of this Congress. So after a lot of deliberation among staff, among our national board, we developed some fairness principles to assess a mapping process and a map itself. First of those is proportionality. Is it about kind of the same number of seats that we're looking at in a response, not kind of a disproportionate response with many more seats at stake, or looking to add many more Democratic seats in response? Is there public participation? Does the public have a role to play in approving a map? Racial equity, are we avoiding any diminishment of the political power of communities of color? Support for federal reform, are the leaders who are doing this response, this redraw in response to Texas and other red states, Are they vocally supportive of the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act, of national redistricting reform, to mandate commissions across the country, as a long-term strategy, and endorsement of independent redistricting, part of it as well, like I was saying. And it's time limited. That this is not sort of it's clear that this is not a permanent solution, something that's going to happen every cycle as soon as the party in power is concerned. They might not be able to win seats. So this is how we're taking a look at it, how we're going to assess whether a response to Texas, a response to the president, will meet fairness criteria such that we'll stay neutral and not oppose. So we did apply the fairness principles to both California's map and process and Texas's. And I'll just kind of go through them one by one. Proportionality, Texas obviously fails that because they are the ones that started this whole mess on the orders of the president by adding 5 new Republican seats. California met that standard by meeting Texas' 5 seats to looking at 5 seats of its own, 5 Democratic seats. Public participation, Texas isn't providing any way for the public to really have a voice in the process, the shaping of the maps or approving them. California's, there will obviously be an up or down vote in a special election this November, so they met that public participation criterion. Racial equity, Texas, for the reasons I stated earlier, failed. This whole process was started because the president demanded a dismantling of districts aimed at empowering communities of color, and Texas stood up and saluted and said, yes, sir, and dismantled those districts. California, we did an assessment of the maps, found that basically the same number of majority-minority districts, minority opportunity districts, and you really didn't see a hit in terms of racial equity. Federal reform, Texas Republican leaders have no interest in the John Lewis Voting Rights Advancement Act or national redistricting reform that would bring independent commissions to every state. In California, that was the opposite. You do see support amongst the leadership of the state government and the federal delegation in support of those federal reforms for voting rights. Endorsement of independent redistricting, again, this is not something that Texas leaders support, the governor, the legislative leaders. But in California, Governor Newsom and some of the others have supported, again, making independent redistricting a national solution in every state that has more than one congressional district. And finally, the time-limited piece. Texas has done this before, spurred on by pure partisan politics after the 2000 census. They're doing it this time spurred on simply by an order from the president to manipulate the map ahead of the midterms. So they give no indication that this wouldn't be done over and over again. The time-limited piece, California met that by explicitly stating in the law that this would end after the 2030 census, and the Independent Commission in California would be empowered once again to draw maps. So California met the fairness criteria, so we are staying neutral on Prop 50. Texas failed to meet it, so we oppose vigorously the effort there to do a redraw, which unfortunately passed. Just to come toward the finish line here, I'll tell you a little bit about what California Common Cause's focus is for the election. It's mainly about election administration, making sure the public is aware of their choices and their polling places, or their vote centers, depending on the county. Just that they understand what their options are. Looking at accurate translations, there's going to be some shift in who's responsible for the translation of election materials. So we've just been monitoring that, working with the governor's office, working with the legislature, secretary of state, to ensure that the languages that are usually covered for elections are covered in this one, since it's such a short timeline. Inadequate polling places, adequate vote centers. Again, a short timeline. The leadership is, the governor and his office and others have indicated that some counties may be able to kind of opt out of having the usual number of polling places for voters. So we're just trying to work with them to make sure that folks can have a voice and show up to a polling place that's convenient to them to cast a ballot. So that, in a nutshell, is where the discussions, the decisions Common Cause nationally has made, and with our California staff on this redistricting fight happening around the country, and in California specifically. So I really appreciate the invite and the opportunity to share with you.
Thank you, Dan. Well, you were quick. We got all kinds of time. You want to keep talking?
I'll sing a song and do a little dance, whatever you want.
Hey, knock yourself out, man. All right, question time. So we've got time, so bring your questions on. Jay has the microphone over there. I have the microphone over here. Fire away. There's one. Well, we ought to have a dozen hands up.
Appreciate your 6 points. The fact that Texas failed them and California met them. What I see is a case of all it takes for the bad guys to win is for good people to be quiet. It sounds like Common Cause is being quiet rather than actually taking a stand to support California. Neutrality is giving in and letting Texas win. Can you explain why that isn't true?
It is in our DNA to oppose partisan gerrymandering. That is just it's just a long part of our history. So although it was a pretty big step to not automatically come out in opposition, so we just assessed the situation. We knew that we can't give a green light to this nationwide and approve of mid-decade redistricting done specifically for partisan purposes, even in California. But we do recognize the situation that this is in response to an authoritarian push started by the president. So we're going to put our resources elsewhere in the many other voting rights fights that we're facing from the administration and from Congress and in the states around the country.
So Nick Bennett is going to talk in a few minutes, and he will take an advocacy position. We knew that Dan would not. Because of what he just stated.
If it's been a 5-to-5 exchange, and let's assume that that's going to happen, what happens in the other states? What are you seeing in Common Cause?
Well, I think we're following developments in particular places where we have staff. Florida is looking at a mid-decade redraw, Indiana and Missouri as well. We will, because they are following the lead of the president, they will inevitably not meet our fairness criteria, even the first criterion, of course, at all, proportionality. So we do foresee being in active opposition. Some places this will be a lobbying fight only. In a place like Missouri, this is also going to could likely be a referendum. The voters there have an opportunity to reverse the legislature's actions through referendum. So we will assess accordingly based on the fairness principles. I can guess what the outcome will be. And if there are other Democratic states that respond, we'll make the same assessment and application of the fairness principles.
Well,
Yes, what about numbers?
Depends on the state. I mean, I think you're looking at obviously in a bigger state like Florida, there's going to be more. I think I can't remember. I want to say it's single digits, but more than one or two. Missouri, you're looking at one district to the dismantling of Kansas City. In Indiana, they may look at going from a 7-2 delegation to a 9-0 delegation. What will also be on the table is litigation. What we learned from our staff in a place like Indiana and actually Florida as well. This will also require the dismantling of districts, Voting Rights Act districts. So we may go to court, pretty quickly to challenge those. And so, or if our civil rights allies don't beat us to the courthouse first. So there are tools at our disposal to push back, but those are the numbers in a handful of states that we're looking at.
What, if anything, have you done about the situation in Texas? Have you gone to court over that or any?
Yeah, we had a very robust lobbying effort of rallies, of generating calls to legislators, of showing up on lobby days, knocking on doors. we have a very effective, we have a big, effective staff there, but the wind is not at their back, right? Republicans have a majority. They feel like they have to take their marching orders from Donald Trump, and we will be so a lawsuit has already been filed on that map. I think if they need, it's primarily with organizations that represent communities of color, because those are the targeted organizations. But if they need help finding plaintiffs with amicus briefs as this thing makes its way through appellate courts, we'll be there to pitch in.
I'm sorry, I didn't totally understand. Did you say you haven't filed a lawsuit against them, or just that you would support other people?
No, our allies already ran to court. This is primarily organizations that are civil rights that represent the communities of color targeted in the Texas redraw, so they're sort of better situated as plaintiffs. But if we have an opportunity to organize amicus briefs when it gets to appellate courts, even the Supreme Court, we will be as supportive, whatever they need.
Thank you.
The redistricting that Prop 50 would create in California would supposedly end in 2030, I think. What stops this madness of this redistricting fight? There has to be some solution. Otherwise, we lose our voice.
Yeah, I think federal reform that takes the power to draw congressional districts out of the hands of elected officials, that's what stops it. For a few years ago, in the first couple of years of Biden administration, when there was a Democratic majority, Democratic trifecta, for the first time in the history of the country, a bill passed the House requiring independent commissions in every single state, or every state that has more than one congressional district. That was a watershed moment. It went to the Senate and hit a wall of a couple Democratic senators that believed in the filibuster. It's not where we wanted to end up, but it's progress, and I think that's ultimately the one thing that can stop that can in fact stop the madness.
Could you give us a little better understanding of what the federal government could do, given the Constitution's states on where elections are to be controlled?
Sure. Yeah, the elections clause of the Constitution, in the first half of the clause, empowers states to the state legislatures, which has been interpreted to mean kind of the entire lawmaking body of states, including state courts, set the time, place, and manner of elections. But then immediately states that Congress has the right to regulate elections as well. And being that because of the supremacy clause, in which federal law is supreme over state law, Congress can pass legislation to regulate federal elections and can mandate the use of independent commissions nationwide. It would be for just congressional districts. They couldn't go in and force states to do their state legislatures that way. But in terms of regulating federal elections and making the drawing of every single congressional district in the country a nonpartisan, transparent, fair process, that's something Congress can do today.
I have a question about how, when a person goes to the door and has maybe 15 seconds to either engage with conversation or not, how can we say that this perhaps is akin to a father swiping a loaf of bread to give to his child that is going to die the next day without some nourishment? In other words, this is not the ideal, but it is the emergency message. Because people at the door, they're not going to listen to the 5 steps of fairness. They need to know that this is a response to Trump's trying to control Texas. So my question is, how, when I go to the door, in the first 15 seconds, can I say to the person why they should vote yes?
You gonna field that, Ken? since we're not saying that. Yeah, just because that's not our position. So I don't know if you wanted to give a shot at that elevator pitch.
Well,
I think I said it already. Yes on 50 is no on Trump. And people hate him for good reason. And just say it. That's it.
There you go. Gotta love her. Questions?
Yeah, we have here in the 5th District the MAGA Republican Kiley, who says he's against the our Proposition 50, and he says he's introduced a bill in Congress to change prohibit mid-decade recounts and redraws. Do you know anything about that?
He hasn't approached us for an endorsement. We were approached by Congresswoman Lofgren and Senator Padilla with a bill to mandate independent commissions nationwide and ban mid-decade redistricting. We are supportive of that. I mean, in principle, we do think that there should be a ban on mid-decade redraws. Yeah. I just haven't seen the specifics of the Kiley bill, to be frank.
One more question. We've got a hand up here. Yep.
Thank you.
Ben.
I've been hearing this bipartisan results from many groups. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters that took exactly the same bipartisan. I just withdrew from the League of Women Voters after most of my life being in the League. I really don't understand what you're saying. In my mind, you're contradicting yourself. What you're saying, what your group has to do because that's the way it was. Well, I'm living in a country now that I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm living here for a long time. And I don't understand your complete reasoning at all.
Well, you wouldn't be the first, probably, but all I can say is just reiterate what I said earlier, which is that this is a very big shift for us. It is in our, I think, because of our long history with this issue, it would have been very easy to just automatically oppose this redraw, which is done for partisan purposes. But in neutrality, we are at least recognizing that circumstances have changed. What California is doing is in response to an authoritarian push by the president and his allies in Congress and the state legislatures around the country. And we will not go with our standard position of opposing a partisan gerrymander. We will stay neutral. We will let it play out as long as it meets some fairness criteria that we think are important to ensure public participation and transparency and fairness and racial equality, racial equity. So that's just kind of where we landed. I definitely understand, especially in a Democratic club, how that's unsatisfying, but that is where we are.
Okay, we've got to wrap up and move on. Dan, thank you so much for being available. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it for a great discussion, and I appreciate it. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Well done. Well done. All right, next up, Nick Bennett, Democratic Party of Placer County Chairperson.
Let's see, can you hear me? Good, thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Nick Bennett. I am the chair of the Placer County Democratic Party's Central Committee. I'm here to talk to you about what everyone else has been talking about, Prop 50. I've got 4 points that I'm going to cover tonight. Some of this you've already heard tonight, but I'll give a little bit more of a partisan spin for you. But we'll talk about how we got into this situation, what California's response was to it, how we're going to pass Prop 50, and what the consequences of this election are going to be. So how we got into this. Does anyone feel that? Do you feel that? I think I feel a blue wave coming. It's 14 months away, but a blue wave is coming.
Right.
Are you ready for it?
Ready for it.
Because Trump's getting ready for it. He knows it's coming. He remembers 2018. He's getting ready for 2026. He's doing everything he can to make sure that he doesn't lose the House, including mid-decade redistricting. That's why we have Texas, as you've heard. They took it upon themselves to get rid of 5 districts. These are districts held by Black and Latino Democrats. They got rid of them. They already passed the maps. They're going to try and add 5 more Republican maps. And it took them to do 2 special sessions to do this. This wasn't something they normally would do. They went out of their way to pass these maps because Trump said he was entitled to those seats. I want you to know there's a lot of misinformation going around. You might have seen some flyers. I know some of the local Republicans are saying that it's actually Joe Biden's fault that we're having all this redistricting. They say it's because of a lawsuit from the Biden administration against Texas, which was actually just talked about a little bit, where the Biden administration did sue Texas and they sued over their 2020 maps, which were considered racial gerrymanders that discriminated against Black and Latino voters. So there was a lawsuit, but unfortunately, because the Supreme Court has severely weakened our Voting Rights Act, most of that lawsuit was dismissed fairly quickly, and what remained of that lawsuit was eventually dismissed once the Trump administration came into power. So there is no lawsuit forcing Texas to redistrict. There's no court order forcing Texas to redistrict, which has historically been why there would be mid-decade redistricting when a state has been found to have illegally gerrymandered and discriminated against their own voters. But that's not the situation here. Texas and Trump are doing everything they can to hold on to power. And I want you to know that this isn't the only thing that they're doing. Trump has all kinds of ideas of how he can hold on to power. They're trying to make it harder to register and re-register, try and require voter ID. California Republicans are trying to get a ballot measure to require voter ID. Trump is against vote by mail. He's come out heavily against it. He also has a problem with voting machines for some reason. He really does. Yeah, they're more accurate and they're cost effective than hand counting, but he wants to get rid of voting machines. So, in response to all this, we have Governor Newsom proposes the Election Rigging Response Act, better known as Prop 50 now. As was described, this is a one-time change to our congressional maps to turn 5 red districts blue to counter what Texas did. It also makes some of our more competitive blue districts safer, which is a good thing for us. But again, it is designed to counter those seats that Texas is trying to take away. And again, this is all about who controls power in the House of Representatives and who has that majority. Because if they can deny us the majority, then they're going to keep doing what they're doing right now. Because they know if we get the majority, if Democrats get the majority, then we could stop their efforts to attack Medicare and Medicaid. We can protect Social Security. And even more importantly, we can actually start investigating the Trump administration with the power of the House. We can impeach people when they break the law.
Yeah.
So they're doing everything they can to make sure that Republicans hold on to the majority in the House. The legislature introduced a constitutional amendment because the only way that this can happen in California is with a constitutional amendment. They also introduced 2 accompanying bills. That constitutional amendment and those 2 bills made it through the legislature. Republicans did everything they could to try and stop it. They lost 2 court cases. So now we have Prop 50 on the ballot. Again, this is a one-time measure. It only changes the congressional districts for the next 3 congressional races, so 2026, 2028, and then 2030. It keeps the California Independent Redistricting Commission. They will be redrawing the congressional maps after the 2030 census. So there's a lot of misinformation going around saying that we're trying to get rid of the Redistricting Commission. That's not true. It's still there. The maps drawn for the legislative races by the Redistricting Commission, those are still here. Those aren't changing. It's just the congressional maps. Now, that's a general overview. Let's talk about what we can do to make sure that Prop 50 passes. Prop 50 is being supported by a coalition of people and organizations, and each has their own little part that they're doing. Governor Newsom is doing his rallies. He's doing a lot of advertising. We've got the California Democratic Party, which I'll talk a little bit more now in a minute, and along with the clubs and our county party. We've got a whole bunch of unions, Planned Parenthood, a whole bunch of other allied organizations working together to make sure that their members vote and support Prop 50. Now, as far as the campaigning, our overall strategy for the California Democratic Party is to make sure we get turnout. This election will be won by turnout, making sure that Democrats vote, because when Democrats vote, we win.
Charles.
So the state party is running our phone banking. They're doing phone banking 6 days a week, 2 shifts per day. So you have 12 opportunities to phone bank and help pass Prop 50 that way if you're able to. They make it fairly easy to vote. Once you learn how to use their system, you can do it from your computer. It's an auto dialer. Again, they make it very easy. If you can do this from your home to phone bank and call Californians and get them to vote for Prop 50. And again, you'll be primarily calling Democrats because the big goal is to make sure that Democrats vote. I'll talk more about this in a minute, but at the county level here in Placer County, we are running the canvassing. And then at the club levels and at our allied group level, that's going to be up to you for postcarding. If you want to do postcarding, you can organize your own postcarding events, visibility events, so rallies, doing the overpasses, having the banners at the overpasses. That's up to the clubs and all your other local groups. The yard signs, you guys got yard signs out fast. Who has a yard sign already? That's amazing. Yeah, keep doing that. But back to canvassing. Canvassing there's been a lot of research on this. Ruth talked about canvassing already, but there's a lot of research. Canvassing is the most effective way to persuade people to vote and to vote the way you would like them to. It's that part where you're actually talking to another human being. That is key. Actually making that connection with another person. Phone banking, really good, but doing it face-to-face in person, that is even more effective. That is why canvassing in your neighborhoods is so important, making that connection. This whole Prop 50, it really took us a little bit by surprise. We weren't ready to start canvassing, but we're starting to get canvassing going. And one of the big changes that we're making for this special election and then going into next year is that the county party is working on rolling out a Democratic action program where we are decentralizing our canvassing events. In the past, our community engagement committee ran pretty much all of the canvasses here in Placer County, and it really limited how many canvasses we could do. We really didn't knock on as many doors as we needed to be effective. Now we're trying to decentralize that and get the clubs more involved, hopefully get other allied organizations involved to run multiple canvases on every Saturday and throughout the week, and really cover all of Placer County when we canvass. So for Prop 50, we have 4 teams already. 1 team covering Roseville, 1 in Rockland, 1 in Auburn, and we have a team here in Lincoln. It's just getting started up. They had their first canvass this last weekend, hoping to have another canvass this weekend. And it's important that we actually get Democrats talking to their neighbors about Prop 50. Who here has a friend? Anyone have a friend? Raise your hand if you have a friend. Not everyone's raising their hands. That's concerning. I'll tell you this. Canvassing is a lot more fun when you're doing it with a friend. It makes it so much better. Just bring a friend. The way these canvasses work, if you've never canvassed before, you can do as much as you want, or you can do as little as you want. But you're doing it with a friend. We always send you out with a partner. We give you the training. We show you how to use the app. There's an app on your phone that when the app is working, it makes it fairly easy. One of the things I do have to disclose is they rolled out this brand new app like 2 weeks ago, and it still has a little bit of bugs, but it's starting to hopefully they'll make it better over the next couple weeks. But it's fairly easy and intuitive to use once you've seen how it works. So it's just an app on your phone that you enter the information. Makes it easy to go from house to house talking to people. But it's an easy process, and it's one of those things like once you do it a couple times, it gets a lot easier. It's one of those things, the more you do it, the easier it is to just go knock on a door, and if they open the door, just go talk to them about Prop 50. It's not scary. All right, next let's talk about the consequences of this election. You might have seen there's been a few special elections throughout the country, and they've gone pretty well for us. We're winning special elections. We're winning elections that no one even expected us to win. But if we lose on Prop 50, if Prop 50 fails, it's going to break that momentum. The Republicans are going to use that to attack us. It's going to discourage our donors. It's going to discourage our volunteers. It's going to discourage our candidates. It's really going to hurt us going in to 2026 if we can't even pass Prop 50 in a blue state. It's vital that we get this passed, and if we don't, I don't think Heidi's still here, but there is a very good chance that Kiley will get reelected if we fail to pass Prop 50. It's that big of a deal. This is our chance to get rid of him. And so if we pass Prop 50, Placer County is actually going to get divided up amongst 3 different congressional districts. This is going to be a big change for us. I'll start with what will be the new 4th congressional district, which is Lincoln. That's actually going to be in a district that stretches from Lincoln all the way out to Napa. So it's going to go west. And it's expected that Congressman Mike Thompson, a longtime serving Democrat, will be the running in this district. So once Prop 50 passes, Congressman Mike Thompson will be running for Congress in this area. And he'll have a big area going from Napa to Lincoln. Then we have the new 3rd congressional district, which includes Tahoe, Nevada County, where Heidi Hall lives, and then it actually goes down into East Sacramento, so East Sacramento, Eastern, and into the city of Sacramento, and that's where most of the population is going to be for the new 3rd Congressional District, is a little sliver in heavily populated Sacramento County. And that will include, again, Tahoe and part of Auburn. Auburn, and I think it goes all the way down to Loomis, will be in the new 3rd Congressional District. And then you'll have the 4th Congressional District, or 6th Congressional District, which will be Rockland, Roseville. It'll be the northern suburbs of Sacramento County, and then it'll go into West Sacramento. As was stated before, all of these districts are going to be blue. About +6 based on past voting. It'll be a little hard. If we get that blue wave, it'll be better. If we aren't able to do well at convincing people that Trump is bad, it might not be as good. But these are very winnable districts. Very winnable districts. The most winnable districts Placer County has seen in at least my lifetime. There are some things we don't know. One of the big questions is, which district will Kiley actually run in? He's the current 3rd Congressional District representative. If Prop 50 passes, he'll be living in District 6, since he lives in Rockland. He may still choose to run in District 3 because you are allowed to run in districts that you don't live in. The other question is, we don't know where Ami Bera is going to run. His current district is being split in half between the 3rd and the 6th districts. He can potentially run in either of those districts. We don't know yet. So, plus, if these become winnable districts for us, you can expect even more people to jump in the race. So we don't know how many candidates we're going to have going into the primary next year, which creates a lot of uncertainty for us, but also a lot of exciting opportunities. But I want to make clear, though, nothing is guaranteed. We are not guaranteed to win anything, so we can't take anything for granted. Be sure that Kiley is doing everything he can to fundraise. You might have seen him he's constantly on Fox News, but now he's even showing up on CNN because he's trying to get as much visibility as he can. He is working hard to make sure that he does not lose. We need to work harder to make sure that he does. So, again, I cannot underscore the importance of this race, and for you to find some way to get involved and help get this measure passed. Importantly, if you can, please come out and canvass. It is really the most important thing and most effective thing that you can do. With that, I'll hand it over to Ruth. Do we have any questions? Hello.
Not.
This isn't really so much of a question as just some words of inspiration. My friend Harriet, who's also here tonight, and I went canvassing for Prop 50 last Saturday. And as a result of our canvassing, we had at least 3 households commit their whole household to Prop 50.
That's excellent. Thank you for canvassing. That's amazing.
And what was that?
That's amazing that you were able to get that. That's a very good sign.
And one more thing is, we even had a person that we couldn't talk to because they weren't available, but then they sought us out when they saw us going back to our car and said, we're all in for Prop 50. So we were able to change what we recorded on the PDI system on our phone
to yes all the way down the board for her. So please get out there because, we need to make a big dent in this. And the system is really easy to use. I promise.
Thank you.
That's very encouraging. I guarantee you, if you go canvassing, you're going to have some good conversations because there are a lot of people who hate Trump and want to make sure Prop 50 passes.
I have a question. Is social media going to play any role in this election?
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I didn't hear anything about the social media.
So our communications committee for our county party is already rolling out stuff. The state party has they have a digital toolkit for the clubs and county central committees and other organizations to use. So if you go on social media, you should start seeing some more stuff. If you go on to the Placer County Democratic Party's Facebook page and our private group, we've got stuff that pops up regularly. But yeah, there is a lot of going on for social media. That is absolutely part of the
thank you.
Campaign.
I just want to say, if you're on Facebook, I am one of your Facebook administrators, so I'm the one that puts all the snarky stuff up. Ruth puts the angry stuff up, but so if you're not following us on Facebook, we are there, and I hate to spam you, but there's just too much good material with all of what Newsom's doing and all of our Superman. We're also on Blue Sky if you're on that too. That's, not formerly, no, it's the replacement of Twitter, the good side of Twitter. So if you haven't joined us, there's a link on your every newsletter of how to get to the Facebook page, or just look up Lincoln Dems. And if you've got anything that you think we should be posting, send us a message, and we will make sure that gets taken care of. But we are now over 1,500 followers. Woo!
So, Nick, I listened to you at the Auburn meeting, and there was a person in the audience that had a very interesting question. She said she had a friend in the East Bay that wanted to vote no on this because they had Eric Swalwell, and she didn't want to lose her congressman, and you had a very good response to that. So I'm wondering if you can talk to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure there are. We're happy to get rid of our congressman, but there are Democrats elsewhere in California who really like their representatives. If you have friends like that, please let them know that as much as you like your representative, they're still going to be in Congress. The thing is, if we lose Prop 50, the Republicans are probably going to hold on to the House. And your representatives, as great as they are now, like Swalwell, we got, I'm blanking right now, but we got a lot of good ones. Rokana, AOC, Ami Bera. Yeah. There's a lot of them. But if you actually want to see what they're capable of, you actually want to see them to do good work, they have to be in the majority. You want to see what they can do investigating the Trump administration, they need to be in the majority. You want advancements in healthcare, they need to be in the majority. So as much as you like your current representatives, they're still going to be in Congress. They might not be representing you, but they're going to actually be able to do the work that they were elected to do. That is why we need to pass Prop 50.
Well, thank you, Nick. And thank you for being here, for all the hard work you do. You can't even imagine what a tough job Nick has, and he's just doing a tremendous job for us, and we really appreciate it. I want you to know that I had the opportunity to meet Mike Thompson a couple weeks ago. I got invited to an event up in Yuma County so that I could meet him, and he is already reaching out. His staff is already reaching out to include me in a number of calls that they're having and briefings and stuff, and so he's a wonderful guy. He's a veteran. He's really committed to the environment. He was a co-author of some of the most important climate legislation that we have. He's just a real guy. He's got two sons. One is in law enforcement. One is works for the fire department. So he's going to be a great representative should that happen. And so I want you to have confidence in him and just know that he's already embracing Lincoln. He wants to come down and visit with us next month. So I want to thank everybody for all the hard work you've already done. I know a lot of you have been out there. You've had us at your homes. You're hosting events for us, launching canvases, you're postcarding, making phone calls. It means a lot. And we just need to double down and do more and encourage your friends to do more. I wanted to mention that not only are we having phone banks, but we have Spanish phone banks. And in the last 2 coffee and conversation events, we've had 2 Spanish-speaking people who are willing to do the Spanish phone banks, and it's really important. And I mentioned earlier, we're going to do a Latino outreach event here in Lincoln, and we need to embrace the Latino community. So that's really all there is for now. We'll see you hopefully next month. Was the date on our meeting next month? The 16th of October. Hope to see you Saturday canvassing. Probably not this Saturday. I know a lot of folks are going to the luncheon. I'm going to the luncheon, but I'm kicking off the canvass anyway, because we have quite a few people actually signed up for this Saturday. I was pleased to see that. But do come out and work with Holly here in Lincoln Hills. She's got a great program put together for you. We'll see you next month. Thank you for everything.
Do anything.